What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something you should go back to the comic book shop for or not. Make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book that I want to talk about right now, Marvel 2-in-1 number 2. So, this is really the reuniting of Johnny Storm's, Human Torch, and Benjamin Grimm's Thing in a search for Sue and Reed. We know they're out there, but they don't, so this is going to be quite an endeavor for them to go under, and I can't wait to see where it takes them across the multiverse. Overall, I'm really liking this book, but let's jump in and see why I do. To start things off with Marvel 2-in-1, first we have to acknowledge the homage to the first Fantastic Four issue with this cover. I mean, even down to the word balloons, it's just a great callback to a classic bit of lineage regarding the Fantastic Four. I mean, overall, it's just one of those great things, and this Marvel 2-in-1 is basically a backdoor Fantastic Four book, which I absolutely love. You know, as we kind of open this book up, we see that Ben is talking to Alicia, his girlfriend's kind of taken up and creating these sculptures of her boyfriend, of the Thing, and it's just a really great showcase for Jim Chung's art style. You know, there's a really great emotion on this rocky, craggy face that you can't necessarily see as he's exploring the fact that he lied to his family. He lied to Johnny. He gave him hope where there really was none, or at least that he didn't expect, which is really the big thing. You know, next we jump into where they're headed off and they're discussing how everything's really going by. You know, what Reed used to do, where they're really going, you know, what the necessary thing is for them to kind of uncover, and it happens to be on Monster Island, this giant gaping mouth of a cave set into the side of a mountain. And what it comes down to is Ben is making a little bit of this up as he goes, but a lot of it's still tied into exactly what Reed wanted. Because if we remember the message from the first issue, you know, Reed wanted them to continue to adventure like the family that they were, their legacy. He wanted them to still be the Fantastic Four, even if Reed and Sue are gone. And that's really the important thing. You know, we're talking about the multi-sect, and even Johnny understands where Reed's coming from, which is probably giving Ben even greater regret and remorse that he wasn't just honest with his friend and his family right up front. But when we see Johnny hit his fantastic flame on, we are immediately encapsulated in monsters. You know, we've got the Mole Man and his Moloids, we've got, other characters that are kind of around here. You know, Googum is looking to rule Monster Island, but Mole Man has taken that. And really it comes down to what's happening. You know, we tie into a little bit of Monsters Unleashed. We tied into a bunch of other stuff, but it comes down to those who defeat these two members of the Fantastic Four are the ones that shall rule Monster Island. So that's the important thing. And then we get into a really great fight scene. We get to see the Thing smashing up, but then, you know, Johnny has a little bit of trouble. He's having his little impotence fire moment, which brings out an unexpected ally in Dr. Doom, in his, infamous Iron Man armor, as he basically, he incapacitates Johnny as well as the Moloids around him, which brings Ben back to his situation where he's just really opposed to Victor Von Doom in general, just because of the history that they have. And this is going to highlight a lot. You know, first off, it's a great highlight for Jim Chung's art. This is just a fantastic sequence, really great character designs, good action, and then you've got this voice of Victor Von Doom. And the voice that Chip Zdarsky is writing him in is great. It is meant for this particular character, and I'm just really appreciative of, pages 13, 14, 15, up until Doom flies away. You very much get the presence of the classic Victor Von Doom that has been inside the Fantastic Four comics and comics in general for quite some time. And where it leads us to is this pompous, arrogant nature of Victor really sparks a little bit of interest in Ben. And he reminds himself, he remembers when their actual first adventure was. The first adventure wasn't on Monster Island. It was what Reed called something different. And that's where we get a throwback. But it's not really a throwback because we're exploring Victor and Reed and Ben in the year 1998, which really is going to throw off a lot of purists when it comes to the Fantastic Four, updating the history so that way they're not in 1963. It creates a weird kind of system where you have to set this in much more modern times when you're dealing with such classic influences that really go on inside the Fantastic Four. Overall, it's not a huge problem for me, but I can see where some people might get a little up in arms regarding that. But the first real prank, the first real adventure venture that they made. You know, Reed fashions up the security card that can really read all the individual locks. You know, it's just a little bit of harmless fun, says Ben. But the real key is that it is the first real contrast and conflict between Victor and Ben and Reed. That's what makes it their first adventure, and Reed committed, you know, after that, he just committed to making sure that the slanderous kind of, Victor Von Doof stuck, and which really forged the rivalry and the relationship between Victor and Reed and the rest of the Fantastic Four. The great explanation that comes from this, the discovery of the actual, the multi-sect, this is really the opening. And one of the things when we finish up this page on the last issue, the last part of this issue where we see this device that's going to be able to bridge the multiverse, makes me just absolutely love what's going on in Marvel 2-in-1. Like I said before, Chip Zdarsky has a fantastic voice. He's writing Benjamin Grimm so well. The Thing has got a great voice. The slightly cocky but caring attitude of Johnny Storm, the arrogance and the pompousness, but the controlled, calculated nature of Victor Von Doom, those are fantastic, and they're well appointed when it comes to this issue. When it comes to the series in general, it's basically my reminding that the Fantastic Four can be so great, and I fell in love with the Fantastic Four with Jonathan Hickman. Overall, I can't help but recommend Fantastic Four. Go back into that era and read it, and then Marvel 2-in-1 is a great way to lead us into possibly a new generation of the first family of Marvel Comics. But I want to know what you guys think about Marvel 2-in-1, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything having to do with the world of comics.